Alright, so today we'll be looking at communism at home. American sentiments. Communist takeover of Eastern Europe and China is going to fuel fear for communist spread in United States. 100,000 in the U.S. will be part of the Communist Party, and many fear that this meant that they might be loyal to the USSR. In March of 47, Truman is going to institute a loyalty program, which was a required loyalty oaths and background investigations on persons that deemed to be holding party membership in organizations that advocated violent and anti-democratic programs. The U.S. Supreme Court decision of Garner versus Los Angeles Board, which is a hearing about loyalty oaths, was a court upheld the use of loyalty oaths. A loyalty oath usually had wording, something along the following, which is taken from the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Garner versus Los Angeles Board, hearing about loyalty oaths. I further swear or affirm that I do not advise, advocate, or teach, and have not within the period of beginning 5 years prior to the effective date of the ordinance requiring the making of this oath affirmation. But anyway, you get the picture. Loyalty Review Board. Truman was accused of being soft on communism, so he set up the Federal Employee Loyalty Program to investigate employees. From 1947 to 1951, loyalty boards investigated 3.2 million and only dismissed 212. An additional 2,900 resigned because they did not want to be investigated or felt that it violated their constitutional rights. The House Un-American Activities Committee was set up to investigate communist influence inside and outside the U.S. government. The HUAC investigated communist influence in the movie industry, believing that communists were sneaking propaganda into films. 43 people were subpoenaed from Hollywood, only 10 refused to testify. And those 10 became known as the Hollywood 10. They refused to cooperate because they believed the hearings were unconstitutional, and they were sent to prison. In response to the hearings, Hollywood executives created a blacklist. People on the list were believed to have communist ties and were not offered jobs. Approximately 500 actors, writers, producers, and directors. Paul Robeson was a singer and actor who refused to sign an affidavit indicating whether he had ever been a member of the Communist Party. State Department revoked his passport for 8 years. He was unable to perform abroad and was blacklisted at home, dropping his income from $150,000 a year to $3,000 a year. The McCarran Act. This act made it unlawful to plan action that might lead to totalitarianism. Truman ended up vetoing the act, saying that it violated free thought, but Congress overrode the veto. Spy cases stunned the nation. Alger Hiss. The HUAC investigated Alger Hiss, the high-ranking State Department official, accused of spying for the Soviet Union. Whittaker Chambers, a former member of the Communist Party, testified that Hiss had given him secret documents that were passed on to the Soviets. Hiss denied the charges, but persistent questioning by HUAC member Richard Nixon revealed apparent inconsistencies in Hiss's testimony. When Hiss sued Chambers for slander, Chambers produced microfilmed copies of documents he had kept hidden in a pumpkin at home. So-called pumpkin papers revealed evidence that indicated Hiss had lied to the HUAC committee. Too many years had passed to convict for espionage, so Hiss was convicted of perjury, lying under oath, and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Congressman Richard Nixon, a member of HUAC, gained fame for pursuing charges. So here is Alger Hiss and the pumpkin papers. In 1949, the Soviets exploded an atomic bomb, which is 3 to 5 years sooner than they expected, and it caused people to believe secrets had been leaked. Physicist Klaus Fuchs admits giving information about the U.S. bomb. Ethel and Julius Rosenberg were minor Communist Party activists and were implicated in the Fuchs case. They were found guilty and sentenced to death. The Supreme Court upheld their conviction. In pronouncing their sentence, Judge Irving Kaufman declared their crime worse than murder. In 1997, information was released by Russia confirming Julius' involvement and confirmed that Ethel was a spy, but she was not directly involved in the Fuchs case. Senator Joseph McCarthy, Republican from Wisconsin, was a strong anti-communist activist. During his first 3 years in office, he had gained a reputation as an effective legislator and decided he would need an issue to win re-election. So McCarthyism was the use of indiscriminate, unfounded political accusations to destroy or assassinate the character of one's opponent. McCarthy accused people of being communists without evidence to prove it. McCarthy claimed that there was anywhere between 57 and 205 communists in the State Department, despite never producing a name. He accused the Democratic Party of 20 years of treason, and he said he had a list of elite U.S. citizens who were communist. Few Republicans speak out against not wanting to be on the wrong side because they believe he was a winning strategy for the 1952 election. McCarthy's downfall. In 1954, McCarthy accuses members of the U.S. Army, which results in televised Senate investigations. Televised hearings show him bullying witnesses with no evidence. McCarthy loses the public support, and the Senate condemns him for improper conduct. McCarthy died 3 years later, an alcoholic and broke. Other anti-communist measures. States, towns forbid speech favoring violent overthrow of government. Millions were forced to take loyalty oaths and are investigated. People become afraid to speak out on public issues. In experiments run by newspapers, pedestrians on the street refused to sign petitions that quoted the Declaration of Independence because they were afraid the ideas were communist. Accusations in government continued. Senator Robert A. Taft of Ohio claimed the State Department was riddled with subversives, and that subversive is an individual attempting to overthrow the government. Anti-communist propaganda was during the McCarthy era, so you got the Red Menace, Communism, America's Mortal Enemy. We got even movies like I Married a Communist were very popular. Eisenhower's presidency. So Republicans planned for 1952 election. By 1951, Truman's approval rating sank to an all-time low of 23%. Why? Korean War, the rising tide of McCarthyism, and a general impression of ineffectiveness. Truman decides not to run again. The Democrats nominate intellectual Illinois Governor Adlai Stevenson, and the Republicans nominate war hero Dwight David Eisenhower. And for the first time since 1928, we have two new nominations for president. Eisenhower used the slogan "I like Ike" for his presidential campaign. Republicans used Ike's strong military background to emphasize his ability to combat communism worldwide. One potential disaster for Ike was his running mate's alleged slush fund. Richard Nixon responded by going on TV and delivering an emotional speech denying charges, but admitting to accepting one gift for his children, which was a dog named Checkers. And the Checkers speech saved the ticket, which again shows you how television can play a role in people's perception. And Eisenhower wins the election with a landslide with 442 electoral votes, and Stevenson won 89 electoral votes, only in the South. Ike's accomplishments. He pressed hard to bring about a balanced budget and tax cuts. He raised the minimum wage. He extended Social Security and unemployment benefits. He increased funding for public housing. He backed the creation of the interstate highway system. He intervened in the Little Rock, Arkansas Central High School crisis, and he supported Brown versus Board of Education ruling, which took place in 1954. Ike walks the middle of the road. Ike's approach to politics is he called dynamic conservatism. He wanted government to be conservative when it came to money and liberal when it came to human beings. And that is how he approached politics. Alright, we will, in the next video, talk about late 50s Cold War conflicts. Thank you and have a nice day.